All right, everyone, it is interview time, and we are here with Heather Shannon, who is fucking awesome. We actually guested on Heather's show, and April has been getting to know Heather more in the SHA training. What's it stand for? Sexual Health Alliance?
Sexual Health Alliance.
Yes.
That's right.
So we love our sex nerds, and we are super excited for this topic with Heather. To learn about kink roles and age play. We've done a lot of episodes on kink and, kink BDSM and various aspects of kink, dominant, submission, power play, all the things. But we're talking about kink roles and age play, which can age play. People are like, wait, what?
Is that like the baby diapers? I'm going to learn. I'm going to learn.
We're going to learn. Stay tuned.
So many places to go with this.
Yeah, so many fun places. It's not just diaper play, everyone, just so you know. Okay, let's start with our very first question/prompt that we always start with, even though people heard about you in the bio, Heather. Can you tell us how you got to where you are today in the field of sexuality? A little bit more. Elaborate your story.
Yeah. You know what's so interesting? It's like the longer I do this work, the more reasons I see for how I wound up here. I think before I would just kind of say, it's interesting and I get bored easily and I was already a therapist. I wanted to help people. And, I did have a couple clients that really dove deep into some sexual topics. Like I had one person, more than one actually, who was exploring the kind of intersection of drinking and like getting blackout drunk and waking up and not knowing what had happened and feeling like consent was maybe not involved. And so we kind of really dug into some trauma with that. And then
that sounded like most of my college years. Unfortunately, not the consent piece, but the blackout drunk. And
consent goes out the window.
Yeah, sorry. Exactly. I just had to say, I'm like, ooh.
You're not alone. So, and then I had another one who was exploring, cross-dressing and gender identity, also some substance abuse going on because of this just kind of discomfort with their identity. And it just kind of made me realize how important this work is and that there aren't a lot of safe spaces for people to really get into it and explore it and not feel like they have to hold back parts of themselves. So that was huge. But I've also been realizing, I think I was pretty repressed. Like I didn't have sex till I was 24. I was really kind of like hung up on the fear aspect of it. I think all of the, indoctrination from like schools and government and church and all the things like got to me, and I was like, ooh, this is scary.
Were you scared of like STIs or were you scared of
STIs and pregnancy?
And pregnancy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you thought you were like abstinence. It was preached. I'm going to go that route, which is
I'll just like wait until I'm in love at least, And so then I think there was a few moments. So I had a friend in college who was like openly talking about masturbation. I was like, oh my God, like we can talk about this. Like that's what, and like other people will talk about it with us and like not shame us. Like, so it was like a moment of like, oh, there's this freedom on the other side of like where I'm at that's possible. And then I remember going to the Pleasure Chest sex toy store in Chicago, and they were just so comfortable and so knowledgeable and so open and like really made me feel comfortable. And it was kind of like, oh, wow, like that's possible. I want that, So yeah, there's a lot of reasons.
It makes so much sense that you're here. And I love people's stories, how they were in what they were doing before and then how they got into the field of sexuality. And I remember when we were on your show, Ask a Sex Therapist, you talked about being from the Midwest, right?
Yeah.
Like Michigan, I remember.
Chicago area.
Chicago area. And I don't know. I never think, sometimes Amy's like, is that a Midwestern thing when we talk about sex? And I'm like, I don't know, maybe. And sometimes I think I get like certified. Yes. If you're from the Midwest, you get certified as you might have grown up with zero sex education and being terrified of sex in general. So I don't know if that's not really a certification, but I just was like
certified in sex negativity.
Pretty much.
Totally. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I just want to say that I'm so happy that folks now can talk to you and get advice and no matter their journey, because we're all different and all of our sexual journeys are so different. Yep. So anyway, I just, and Yeah. Shout out to the Midwest, though. If you're listening to this,
love you.
Yeah,
Yes.
we do. Love you.
You're not alone.
You're not alone. And I still have a deep love for the Midwest. So,
And when she
Me
drinks some
too.
alcohol, sometimes I can hear the accent come out. It's real
I'm
cute.
like, hey, Amy, you got any more of that stuff over there?
Yeah, I got the Chicago A sound. It's like backpack, I got
Yeah.
We
cream rinse.
when we were
Mhm.
we read our Audible, but we narrated our Audible book, Amy and I, separately, and I've been listening to it because it just came out, and I've been looking for the little bits of Midwesternness in them, and there are some tinges, which I think it's endearing. So anyway, you have to tell me, Amy, if you hear that ever.
I love it.
Okay, well, good.
I like it too.
So on to the questions.
Yeah.
So most of us out there probably know what kink is, but can we talk about kink roles? What are kink roles?
Yeah. So there's so many roles. I think of, I don't know how familiar people are with That Life, but if you're not, the kinky Facebook basically, and you can list what kink roles you're into. And so people might list something like daddy, or they might list something like little, which we'll talk more about today. We think of kind of the classic ones like dom and sub and master and slave, and those are all potential ones too. But I think especially because I'm an internal family systems therapist and I do a lot of work with parts, I really view sexuality as this kind of creative form of self-expression. And it's a way and it's a place where we can express different parts of ourselves. So you might have one part that, wants to be kind of do like baby talk. You might have another part that wants to be in charge and likes inflicting pain and is like a sadist. You might have another one that's kind of like a goddess or a princess and just wants to be, pampered. So there's
or a
so many
gremlin.
different
A gremlin.
That's
Amy's
me.
a
That's one of
gremlin.
mine.
Amy's a gremlin?
It's not a sexual role, but I'm part gremlin.
It might come.
It could be. I mean, there's so many. Yeah.
Maybe it is. Okay, we'll work on that
Let's
one.
explore that today.
My 5-year-old gremlin.
I'm
comes
just
out.
outing you. I'm sorry. Maybe you didn't want anyone to know that.
People can know about my inner
Okay,
gremlin.
cool. Okay.
Anyways.
But the kink roles though. So when I think of kink roles, so I've looked at FetLife before, like years ago, and was on FetLife, and the list is massive. By the way, like when I think of it, just that was on the top of my head of my mind, I have like 10 kink roles, but when I've looked online, there's like 100 of them. I was like,
oh yeah,
I didn't even know that was a thing. So today we're here to specifically talk about age play, though. So what is age play?
Okay, so age play, there's a few different ways to look at it, is where you engage in a role play where you maybe pretend to be a certain age that's younger than you are. But I also want to frame it a little bit of a different way with the internal family systems parts thing. It could also just be that you have a part that is actually kind of younger or wants to express a more youthful, playful side. And so while it's maybe a role play, it's also a part of who you are.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Yeah. That is interesting. Yeah. I'm thinking about all the times when I become like baby April.
Yeah, I know. I have a little part too.
You do? Yeah. Okay. So that's okay. Well, okay. I can't wait to hear about this. I like to dissect myself within these conversations because I feel like it's helpful for me to explain this to people later. Mm-hmm. So why are some people into age play? What are they getting out of this?
Yeah. And I do want to also specify it's not always sexual, so I've always kind of had this little part that is sort of like a toddler age. And it's just like an element or a part of who I am. And for me, like that part comes out even when I'm by myself, it's not necessarily like a sexual context. I definitely kind of have the like the baby Heather voice that comes out when I'm like, dating somebody often, but it's not necessarily always sexual. So a lot of kink is just sort of a way to express. It can be sexual, and sometimes people will talk about like dark age play. But it's important that all of the parts and all of the humans feel safe in whatever is agreed on. So yeah, but it's a way to explore. And so that you can also have, caregivers. So you tend to have someone who's younger or expressing a part that's younger. Then you can have littles that I think are about, I want to say like 8 or younger. And then you can also have middles. So a middle, is maybe more teenage or tween age range. And so someone might want to express a part that's in that age range. Mm-hmm. The caregiver side of it, you might have somebody who's playing a daddy role or a mommy role, or you could also have somebody who's, a babysitter. And so that's where people can kind of play with their comfort zones. Cause some people are like, no, I'm a dad in real life, or I'm a mom in real life. And like, that's too close to home. And like, I can't go there. And so they might be, the uncle or the aunt or the babysitter or the teacher, I think even doing like a teacher schoolgirl role play would be an example of age play.
Mm-hmm. So are they getting out? What are people getting out of it? Is it like going back and almost taking the power back from things that maybe happened to them previously? Or is it a desire for maybe not enough of that or somewhere they want to go, or what? I just want to, I'm curious about
it's probably a little different for everyone. I think, speaking for myself, in real life, I feel sort of large and in charge, and like, I'm like more of a leader person, and, I tend to be, decision maker or planner. And so to really be able to let go of that and be like, nope, I'm just a little kid. Like someone else is going to take care of me. I don't have to decide anything. I just get to be like cute and playful, because I think as adults, sometimes we can get so serious and so bogged down by, work and stress and to-do lists, and really forget kind of the playful energy that can be a great part of life, a great part of sexuality, and just like helps us feel like our best self, I think. So for me, I view my little part as being sort of like the bringer of joy.
I love that. It makes me so happy for my own inner child. Thank you for that permission. So something that came to mind for me that was not really in our notes, but with what you're speaking to is, so I've been in relationships, or I can think of one relationship in particular. April knows who I'm talking about. who I'll say this from my perspective, that it felt very shaming, where when I would somehow speak in like this younger version of myself, even outside of sex too. This is not just in sex.
Baby Amy.
Yeah, baby Amy. Or like
I love baby Amy.
Baby Amy.
I'm fine, baby Amy. But somebody like, you need to like your step into your, like, I want to see your strong feminine. And I'd be like, well, that's here too. But there's also this other side. And I also know, flipping the gender roles. There's a woman I know who was in a relationship with a man who he would often, and I didn't see this, but she told me that he would go into this kind of like little kid mode, and it was really unattractive to her, but it would just come out at times. It wasn't like he was always that, because I never saw that. And I know this person pretty well. Yeah. Super unattractive. And I think that she would also, I'm going to be judgy, shame him for like, this is not appropriate because I don't feel attracted to it. So this is like a total tangent question, but like, I mean, I don't even know what my question is, but like, what do you feel about that? Like for people who are either wanting to express that and they don't feel safe to express it because their partner has shamed them, or they might do the shaming, like, oh, you're not being your most masculine or feminine adult self right now.
Yeah. So I recently shared this with a partner kind of before we got to that point, because I get it. Sometimes when you're sharing your fantasies or parts of yourself with an intimate partner, it is a scary thing to be like, am I going to be rejected? Are they going to make fun of me? Are they going to make a request that I'm a different way? Am I going to kind of have to be holding back and not fully letting go and having fun? And so I was kind of like, okay, just so you know, there's this part of me that like will probably come out if we keep spending time together. And, you might hear me talk in a different voice, and it's something that's just kind of very like natural for me and like automatic. And he was like, okay, cool. And I kind of framed it like, no one's ever had an issue with it, but just so you know. And so it wasn't an issue. I also think a lot of how people respond to us can be how we feel about it ourselves. So if we have some kind of internal shame or like discomfort and we present it in that way, they might be like, oh yeah, you're right. That is kind of weird, So I think the way I presented it was helpful. That said, some people are just deeply uncomfortable. And then you find that out when you're sharing something. So it's important that you have your own back too. And the more you're comfortable with your own kink parts, sexual parts, the more you're going to be resilient regardless of how they react.
And wait, is this different than sometimes I feel like my partner acts like a child? And I'm like, you're being a fucking 12-year-old right now.
This is when they're having a tantrum, like they didn't get the cookie.
But I don't want the cookie. But I don't think it's he definitely doesn't realize he's doing it. And I'm like, dude, you're being a fucking child.
Like, oh, I'll let her answer. Actually,
sorry. I mean,
answer too, but I think, I mean, this is maybe popular, unpopular, I don't know, but I think every man has a 12 or 13-year-old boy part.
Thank you.
And
Thank
that
you.
has, like, never grown up. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure we all do some version of that.
Oh,
like
100%.
I have adult Amy tantrums, and they're probably not age play. It's just me going back into an old state that I haven't fully healed yet, or like worked on, because it's like, oh, there's old Amy having triggered Amy. This is like a 13-year-old stomping on the ground. I had another question related to this other thing, but
stomp on the ground?
I don't know. Probably not really. No, my new thing is to say "fuck you," which I didn't say back in the day. I don't love this part of myself, but what triggered? So, like, triggered selves. Speaking for myself, triggered Amy. I feel young when I'm in that space, and you could ask me, like, how old are you right now? Sometimes, like, I'm 8-year-old triggered Amy. Sometimes I'm 15-year-old triggered Amy. Usually it's a young part of me, but I think it's different than age play. I'm not choosing to play into a part of this. So I think that's the distinction, right? Like, sometimes there's a system that is running the show, right, when in triggered states. And then we're talking about age play as, generally speaking, more of a choice of, like, no, I'm going to embody this part of myself as play.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think that is the difference, what you're saying. So, like, in IFS, we would say if a part kind of I call it a part takeover when it's kind of involuntary. IFS calls it being blended with a part. So it's kind of like your higher consciousness, self energy has been shoved into the background, and this part is now running the show, versus doing some age play. It's kind of like consciously allowing space for this part to, like, come forward safely.
Yeah. I love that. Okay. So I'm going to go bring it to a personal story from myself. I know April has one too. Because, we want free therapy from AASECT Therapist.
I'm down.
We're so selfish.
So I like to role play a daddy, bratty little girl dynamic. I think it's really hot. But daddy isn't my father daddy. It's not familial. He's my dominant, strong, masculine figure daddy. Is this the same as age play? And why do you think I like it in the first place?
So many questions.
Analyze that.
I also love that. And I think the bratty thing can be super fun. People have mixed feelings on that. But I love the way you're describing it. And yeah, that is age play, in my opinion. I think the daddy dom little girl dynamic is a super popular one. And I think it could be a really good entry point for people. And especially bringing that bratty element. It's like, you're not fully surrendering control. You're not, fully being like, okay, you're in charge of me. But so many times we do what we're supposed to do, and to kind of just be able to be in touch with that little, like, bratty rebellious part that doesn't have to hold things in and doesn't have to, like, be a good girl. I think there's so much conditioning around being a good girl that the bratty thing can be a really fun way to express the opposite.
It's so much fun. I have such a good time being a little brat. And the thing is that I always win, by the way. Like, when I'm a brat and I'm a bad girl, I end up winning because I get, like, the spankings that I want. And when I'm a good girl, then I get all the rewards I want. So bratty Amy,
you don't get put in timeout or anything?
I don't get put on timeout. No, we have done the, like, you're not going to have an orgasm until I tell you can. And then I, like, grab the vibrator and give myself an orgasm because I'm a brat. But but the daddy, he's not, in my mind, he's not my father. It's not a bloodline thing. And so I guess that's my question here, is the distinction between age play, and especially if it's I guess you call it incest play, then is another variation.
That would be sort of the dark age play.
So that's the dark. Okay, so dark age play is when it's like race play, dark age play. That's okay. So just speaking of age play. Okay, so that's what's incest play. So for me, in my example, that's not incest play. But if I was like, you're going to be my dad, like, you are the sperm donor to my mom, and we're going to role play that would be the dark age play. Then it's more incest play. Okay, got it.
Yeah, so that's where people are like, whoa, you're into age play, and they assume that it's always that. And sometimes it is, but a lot of times it's not.
Okay. Well, this is a great kind of transition to my question. Okay. So I'm into step-parent fantasies and porn specifically, but I don't actually ever want to, I don't want to act it out ever. Okay. No. Never. Yeah. Does this mean I'm into age play?
That's interesting. In the fantasies, is the step-parent, like, notably older than you?
Yes.
Then yeah.
And dominating. It's like a domination thing.
Let me ask more question. So are you your current age in the fantasy, or are you younger?
Younger. Yeah. So it's age play, right? Right? Like teenage. It's usually teenage. Okay.
Then yes, I would say yes. And I think, actually, I love that you're bringing that up, that it's maybe just existing in the fantasy realm. It's like, that still counts. There's so many, sometimes people are so quick to dismiss, like, if I don't do it in real life, and it's like, so much of it's mental anyways. For me, it's like 90% plus is, like, mental. So just enjoy the fantasy of it.
Yeah, it really does take things up a notch when I even pretend that my partner is like my stepdad and I've been bad.
Are you pretending or is this in your head?
In my head, I'm
so
pretending.
I do that. So I'll do like some fucked up shit in my head while I'm having sex. Fucked up meaning like if I were to tell the outside world, like that sounds fucked up. You know, like so April's like the step fantasy thing, and mine is generally more like non-consensual acts of sexual violence. And so I'm not like, so now I'm imagining you pinning me down and taking me without my consent, but I'm just doing that in my head. And I know that that's safe for me because that's mine. And it is going with the daddy little girl thing, and April's doing it over there with step parent stuff. I love it.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, this is bad. And the other day my partner approached me and was like, tell me what's been going on, like, you know, in your spank bank lately. And I was like,
about
can
that.
I just get back to you? Because
last night you were my stepdad.
I know. He actually asked me, he's like, so are you still in the taxi cab thing? I was like, no, bro, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, she has the taxi cab or step thing.
Yeah, he's like, I like to get for a while I was pretending he was a taxi cab driver. a British
while you're banging.
Oh my God, so specific.
I know. I don't know why. I don't even like taxis.
The British cab driver. I've never heard that one. It makes me happy. So
maybe it came from the Uber driver thing, but that'll be a different conversation. I never thought about that. Anyway, okay, moving on.
So I think with so we've talked about this past podcast, like we were pretty clear, like with April's that she does have some complicated relationships with step parents. And so it might be a way of taking back the power. For me, I have a complicated relationship with my dad in that I never felt that he was really like fully emotionally there for me. And so when I have this strong masculine figure, that's not actually my dad, but is daddy, I'm getting that feeling. Like you said, the brat is still in control because I'm the brat. And I'm taking back the power too. I'm curious though, because we did talk about littles. So like when I'm doing that and April's doing that, we're probably not littles, like under 8. And we did kind of talk about like the diaper play.
The tween. Did you say tween?
Tween is like the teenager.
Right.
Yeah, I would say middle would be like a tween and teen.
Yeah. So I think April, I think I'm in that when I'm playing into it, it's like that age-ish. But for folks, so I think what could be triggering or like the dark age play is, you know, the under 8, like there are people that want to be treated like babies. They want to wear diapers. They want you to maybe change their diapers. And there are people who like to be the mommy, and we've done podcasts on this and some, I'm sure for some people they're like, what the fuck? Can you explain a little more about that arena of age play?
Yeah, I think there's something, I'm thinking about the adult baby diaper lovers right now. And I'm thinking there's something about like just the surrendering, you know, and this element of like breaking all the rules. So I think there's the taboo element of like, you know, well, adults are supposed to control their bodily functions, you know, and it's like, I'm just going to fully let go and fully surrender and fully, you know, I think there's something kind of untamed about it maybe. And then to feel taken care of. And I think there's some overlap. So even with like the bratty dynamic, it's kind of like, you know, I can be bratty and rude and swear at you, and you're still going to sort of like hold that space for me. And I think it's similar, you know, regardless of the age, where it's like, you know, I'm going to be soiling my diaper and you're still going to hold that space for me. You know, it's sort of like that unconditional aspect a little bit of feeling safe and cared for. And kind of like you were just saying, Amy, like tapping into maybe some needs we didn't get met.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, we can recreate that through our sex lives in a way that can be healing, actually.
And I think some people hearing that, like, that doesn't sound sexy, but when you said that about like just being like, I can fully surrender, be taken care of and not have to worry, that's super hot to me because that whether it's diapers or not, like diapers aren't my jam, but it creates a feeling of safety, relaxation. I don't have to be like, I think all three of us here, we're doers. We're very much in control. And that is like the precursor for my sex drive.
Okay. I have a question that came out of this. I don't know.
She looks very concerned.
So if you, let's say, and maybe there is no answer for this, but if I was into diaper play, is it something that you do like pre like getting physical? You're like, I'm in a diaper, I want you to change me, and then we're gonna like I
think it could be its own
banging
play.
out, or is it like after, or is it like a build up, like I wore a diaper all day, or is it all of the above? I just was thinking about how this would work, because if I soiled myself, I definitely don't want it. I don't know if I would be like, okay, but I guess I'm not into diaper play.
You're not into diaper
I'm
play.
just thinking about how it would work.
The logistics. I think this is a kink that often is not directly sexual.
Okay.
And that was kind of a new thing for me when I started. Like, I kind of always knew I had some kinks, but once I got into the kink community, it was like, oh, wow, so much of this is not overtly sexual. And a lot of people will just do the kink without the sex components.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think a lot of the diaper play is that, but some of it could be arousing, so maybe it's not a sex act, or maybe they get like kind of cleaned up first.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe they're being like fondled. So there can also be some of the like dark aspect of being manipulated or being taken advantage of. The major indifference that I really want to make sure I hit home with people is like, this is between consenting adults.
Mm-hmm.
Age play is not with anyone underage. And I think that's where it sometimes gets a bad rap. It's like when you're an adult and you kind of know your own kink parts and you know what feels safe for them and you have access to your own kind of higher self and self energy, then you can do these things safely. Sometimes exploring sex, kink, whatever, can be triggering. And then that's where we need to kind of plan ahead for aftercare and communicate with our partners and be in tune with our own body so that we know like, okay, time out, we got to address something. Something's coming up for me.
Yeah. And we're going to get to that too, because the tips for these things. And first though, I have a question. So let's say someone wants to bring age play into the bedroom. How do you suggest they talk to their partner about this?
Yeah. Depends on the partner. So, if you have a partner who's super open-minded, it's probably already going to be easy. So let's say your partner is just like, I don't know, it could go either way, I would maybe just set the stage first of like, hey, I want to be able to share something with you that I think could be really fun and enhance our sex life. So frame it in a positive light to start. Can we sort of agree that we're going to do a judgment-free zone and create a safe space for each other? And so even if it's not your cup of tea, I just kind of need you to be like, okay, cool. Thanks for sharing, great to know this about you. So I think having that meta conversation ahead of time about creating the container for it could be helpful. And then I would just be straight up like, hey, here's something that I've thought about before. It kind of turns me on or it intrigues me. I like the fantasy of it. I'm not sure maybe how I'm going to feel about actually acting it out, but I feel safe enough with you that I want to try and see how it goes.
Yeah, totally.
Like that.
And it's always risky to make requests about sex when you're like, I don't know how you're going to respond. But the other side of that risk is some really good things, or is the possibility of really good things, getting your needs or your desires fulfilled. And I just want to share this. I used to do this thing that I just realized is kind of like a drive-by daddying, which I did. I did this to April's partner when they weren't together, because I slept with him twice before they were together. Because we like to check out the partners. But you should hit this.
Get the stamp of
get in a relationship.
That was the only one. There was
yeah,
the only one I dated.
Usually I try them first and be like, you should do this too.
Yeah.
With
a lot of things actually. So anyways, the drive-by daddying though, I didn't even realize I was doing it, but I would like there's someone I was like flirting with. And I'd start to have like text conversations with them. And then I would drop the like, okay, daddy in there. And I didn't realize that I was testing them to see how they responded. If there's something like, oh, daddy, okay, little girl, I'm like, all right, it's on. But if they were like, daddy, or just like, haha, I was like, okay, yeah, it's not really going to work so well. And I did that with a couple people. I remember I did that with your now partner, April. Instantly, he's also a dad, and instantly responded like, oh, I think it was at your house. And I was like, April, I just dropped the daddy bomb. And he was like, oh, hey. And now we're doing the like daddy little girl back and forth. I'm not saying, so like part of me is saying this because this is my way to like check out with casual partners if this was available. I think there's a better way because it's a drive-by daddying where
I like it, and I've done it too.
Yeah, but like my concern is if it's really a no for them, I'm already bringing them into that space because I just called them daddy, like call her daddy, without having permission. So
maybe they could turn around and be like, okay, mama. And then you'd be like,
oh, like, I'm not a mommy.
Yeah.
I'm not a mommy. I'm a bad little girl. I'm a slutty bad little girl.
It's good. You know your role very well.
All right. Anyways, that was just, my I like what you said about the way that you could phrase sharing that and take a risk. Okay. Let's talk about some of the tips though. Okay. Folks who want to say, because I think I love that you already said two consenting adults, 2 plus consenting adults, right? So that is already there. So consent, we obviously know is a big piece of it, but what are your top tips for how people can safely start to do age play in a way that's really hot? Are there any major do's or don'ts that come to mind for you?
I mean, I'm obviously not a very conservative person with sex, but like, I do think it's good to dip your toe in. If it's something that you have any sort of like trepidation about, I would just say start small. And I actually think the drive-by daddy thing is a great way to start.
You're onto something, Amy.
Drive-by daddy.
I know. I actually think that's great. Like it reminded me of a recent time where we had a guy friend and there was like 3 of us girls and he was kind of like treating us to a bunch of things. And I was like, thanks, daddy, and just kind of being flirty and cheeky. It wasn't necessarily trying to test something. But you could try that. You could try just like drop in a daddy, or like, if you're the older one in the role play, you could drop in like, hey, little girl, watch yourself or something like that, and just see how it goes. And if your partner's like, what? Weird, then it's like, okay, maybe they're not super into that, but you can still have the discussion, you can still kind of have a mature discussion about it and see where it goes. But I would start small. I would start small with something like verbal, maybe where it's not fully sexual. Or there's, like I mentioned, the teacher schoolgirl thing, like that's such a classic fantasy that might not be threatening to people. So you could start with something like that as an introduction and then see, like, do we want to change the age of the student? Do we want to like swap, who's the student, who's the teacher? And
like maybe you're a college student. Maybe you're like a 20.
Maybe it's a principal student.
Ooh. Maybe it's a student ruling the principal. Oh, with a ruler.
It could be the bratty student took over.
Yeah. What about, so are the things that you should avoid though, in terms of approaching this, especially obviously we address the consent piece and they have to be over the age of 18, clearly.
Right.
What other major don'ts?
I mean, I wouldn't jump into something that's like a trauma that you're reliving. You know what I mean? However, that can be healing too. I just wouldn't do that at the beginning. I would start with like, what's a little bit tamer, what's a little bit like we can dip our toe in and play with some of the parameters to make them, fit to our level of comfort. But if you've been doing some of that and it's moving along, or if you're realizing there's an element of a trauma that you went through and you kind of want to reclaim it or heal it, or like play through a scenario in a different way that winds up having like a healthier, happier outcome, that's something that you can do. But make sure you have your safe words, And the other thing I would say is like almost have practice using your safe words. I had a really interesting experience with a partner in the past where we had our sort of red, yellow, green that we were doing. Green is like, okay, full speed ahead. Yellow is like, let's pause and check in before we continue. And red being like, we stop immediately if the scene is over. And there was a time where I think I said yellow when I should have said red, and I should have said yellow several minutes before, and I didn't. And so we kind of processed that afterwards. And so even with me feeling like, I'm a badass bitch and I'm assertive and I can say whatever, I still had a hard time, And so I think it's important to kind of practice saying that and to have that feeling, because so much can come up with like, am I going to let my partner down? Or like, he's probably having fun, or like maybe what I'm experiencing is going to just go away on its own. It's not that big of a deal. And so there's so many ways we can kind of like dismiss ourselves or minimize what we're experiencing. So I would even maybe have like practice sex. I'm a big fan of practice sex, where you just decide ahead of time, let's just do like a practice run through where like, at some point I'm going to interrupt us and I'm going to say yellow or red, so that you're comfortable with that.
And aftercare, you've mentioned, we should really, I think that's so important. You've mentioned it a couple of times.
Yeah.
That's probably a major do, obviously.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it helps if you have good communication and a general sense of safety with this person. It's not like a new partner. That would be another tip of like, I wouldn't do this with a new partner, especially if you are also new to age play. So find someone that you already kind of, trust and like and feel safe with. Okay, now I'm forgetting the question you just asked.
The aftercare piece of how to tend to,
aftercare. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, so the aftercare. So if you have that, you know each other, you do feel safe. Then I would say like, hey, here's some things I might be triggered by. I'm anticipating. I might want to talk about some things if I get emotional at all. If it goes really well, I think I'm going to want some cuddling afterwards. For me, sometimes I'll kind of be more attached feeling to the person for the next like 24 to 48 hours. And so I'll sometimes let people know that, like, I might want to text more. I might want to hear from you more. I might want to have a phone call. I'd like you to stay for X amount of time afterwards. So you can kind of get as specific or as general as you want, depending on what your needs are. But yeah, the bottom line is just to kind of ask for what you want and make sure that your partner is comfortable giving that.
And the aftercare could change day by day. You could be with someone for 5 years and their aftercare is different tomorrow based on where they're at. And, for me, sometimes I don't need any aftercare other than like, tell me that I've been a good girl and give me the pets and maybe a last orgasm or something like that. And some days it might be more emotional and tender, and it might not be related to the age, but it might just be like where I'm at. But one thing I love about kink roles or learning about kink roles is that it expands the menu to so many possibilities. Even if you don't think you're a kinky person, you don't have to think you are or be a kinky person.
No.
But you might go, we might want to go to FetLife and look at the things and be like, that one sounds kind of interesting. I could never thought that could be a role that I could take on. And because it just expands and broadens the menu for what you can do in the bedroom.
Yeah, there's so many specific ones too. And it can honestly, if you're not into it, it still can be fun. Just to be like, ooh, I didn't know what a boot black was, or what
I don't even know what that is.
Or like, there's a whole like boot polishing thing in the kink world. Like, I'm not an expert on that one, but like, there's some interesting stuff where you're like, oh, who knew?
We're working on getting April into the foot fetish world because she has nice feet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're gonna make the money. We want some Gucci shoes for her. Some good. I want it for her. I can't fit in her Gucci's. I have a foot fetish. I just want to watch her wear Gucci's that someone else buys for her.
Oh, Amy could not give a shit about any of that, but she just knows that I love.
I like April in nice shoes because it makes her happy.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need to end the show soon. We know you have so many other offerings. We guessed it in your podcast as well, but like, will you tell us about your other offerings where people can potentially work with you, how they can find you, how they can stalk you on the social medias, all the things?
Yeah. Okay, that sounds good. So I specialize in working with people who are in committed relationships and feel like they've lost the spark or just the passion is kind of gone. Sometimes these are people who have been married for many years and haven't had sex in years. And sometimes it's people who are still having regular sex, but it just has kind of started feeling like a chore. And within that, obviously, I work with people who are kinky, who are non-monogamous, who are, part of the LGBTQ spectrum, and also neurodivergent people. So everyone's welcome with me. Obviously, there's my podcast, Ask a Sex Therapist. I do have some freebies for people on my website. So if you just go to heathershannon.co, there's a freebies tab there. One of them is about kink roles. So if people are just kind of curious about like, okay, what does this role mean? Or what are some words that kind of go with this role or ways I can kind of start incorporating it. So that is there. And I now have a couple other things that are digital courses. So I have a libido guide called Finding Your Fire. And it's like everything you need to kind of get the desire back, whether it's biological or psychological. And then I'm starting a group program soon that's just like the foundations of healthy relationships. It's called Bulletproof Relationships, and that'll be running in January.
Oh, that's exciting. January 2024.
I know. Yeah, January 2024. Thank you. So I'm excited. I'm excited to kind of like help people in some new ways.
It's always so nice talking with you. I feel like we are old friends, and not old as in that's my age play, but old as in we've known each other for a long time.
Can you age play being old friends? Girl, we've been coming together. It's like Golden Girls.
We could be little grandmas. That'd be so cute.
Thank you for being a friend.
Thank you for being a friend.
Well, we should get wigs next time.
I'm super down. It can get itchy, but I'm down for a wig.
You gotta go.
Yeah, I'm always down for like a good outfit and for a little.
Yeah, you are Blanche.
Yeah, I love a little Blanche. Well, everyone check out Ask a Sex Therapist, which do you release a show every week, I believe, right?
Yep, every Monday.
Every Monday. So check out that. We've been on the show. It was such a great episode. It was so fun to hang out with you and having you on the show. We'll have to have you back again because it's just, you're an inspiration, another Midwesterner that's getting into the sex world and kink world and role play and age
broadening our horizons.
Yes, I love it. So thank you to Heather, Shannon, and to all of you out there who we love so much, the Shameless Sex Revolutionaries. If you haven't bought our book, check out Shameless Sex. It's a book now too, everyone. And go ahead. I double dare you, rate us on iTunes, Spotify. It only helps more people find beautiful humans like Heather, Shannon. And if you bought a book, which if you haven't, that's okay. We forgive you. But if you did, you can rate us on Amazon, on Barnes and Noble,
all the things.
Anywhere books are sold. I think Target will have our book if they have it already. And we've been getting really good feedback. I hope that you all love it. We put so much time and effort into it because we love you. And it's the book that we wish we had when we were 18 and 25.
Yeah, it's an
35.
awesome book, you guys. Go get it.
Yeah, Heather was complimenting us, and it's also on Audible. So if you prefer someone to read the book to you, Amy and I will be reading the book to you. So every other chapter, so you can check out the Audible too. All right, that's all I am commanding you littles to do. I'm just kidding. I'm being a mommy.
Of course, yeah.
Consensually.
Oh, good mommy.
Yeah, that was a good mommy. I'm into that.
Get into that later. All right, y'all. We will see you next Tuesday for another episode of Shameless Sex. Ciao for now.